You can buy a full day of calories in America for surprisingly little money, and you can get them in minutes, without cooking, without planning, and sometimes without even leaving your car. That sounds like progress, until you ask what those calories are doing to your body, your energy, and your long-term health. In this video, we're counting down the real reasons cheap and convenient often lines up with unhealthy, and you'll leave with practical ways to keep the convenience while upgrading what's on your plate, using the same public data health experts use. Let's start with a simple idea that sounds almost rude to say out loud. The American food system is extremely good at making calories cheap and extremely bad at making the healthiest patterns the default. That doesn't mean anyone is trying to harm you. It means incentives are doing what incentives do. Companies respond to what sells. Shoppers respond to price and time. Policies respond to pressure. And your brain responds to salt, sugar, and fat in a way that made sense when food was scarce, not when it's everywhere. When people say, just eat better, they skip the part where the easiest options are often designed to be hard to resist, and the healthiest options often ask for time, tools, and habits that many households don't have. Before the countdown even begins, here's the first surprise. Americans spend a smaller share of their disposable income on food than most people in the past would recognize. In 2024, the U.S. Department of Agriculture estimates consumers spend about 10.4% of disposable personal income on food. That includes groceries and eating out. So yes, food can feel expensive right now, especially after recent inflation, but the long arc is still that food takes a relatively small slice of what's left after taxes for many households. That's a big win in one sense. It also sets up the problem. Because when food is cheap relative to income, the market can compete on speed, taste, and convenience, and not feel forced to compete on long-term health. Now the countdown. Reason 10 is that cheap is often measured the way the human body can't measure it. Cost per calorie, not cost per nourishment. When a store shelf is full of choices, the options that deliver the most calories for the least money often win, especially when budgets are tight. Here's the twist. Many healthy foods are not expensive by weight or by serving, but they can be more expensive per calorie because they carry water, fiber, and bulk instead of pure energy. That's why a bag of produce can feel like it disappears without filling you up, while a box of snack food seems to last forever. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has pointed out for years that the answer to "is healthy food more expensive" changes depending on whether you measure price per calorie, price per edible weight, or price per typical amount eaten. Using price per calorie, fruits and vegetables often look pricier than less healthy options, while other measures tell a different story. Your body does not run on price per calorie. It runs on fiber, protein, micronutrients, and steady blood sugar. But the marketplace is very good at making calorie-dense foods feel like the smartest deal. Reason 9 is that the cheapest, fastest foods are often the most industrially processed, and that matters more than most people think. In new national dietary data covering August of 2021 through August of 2023, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported that the average person ages 1 year and older got about 55% of total calories from ultra-processed foods. That is more than half of all calories, and for youth it was higher. This category isn't just processed like frozen vegetables or canned beans, it's foods built from refined starches, added fats, added sugars, flavor systems, and additives that help with texture, shelf life, and repeatable taste. The reason they spread is not mysterious. Ultra-processed foods are often cheaper to ship, easier to store, and easier to sell at scale. They tolerate long supply chains. They sit on shelves without much loss. They are consistent, which makes them easier to market. And they can be tuned to hit your taste buds in a way that makes just one more bite feel normal. The uncomfortable part is that the default modern diet isn't simply some processed food. It's a diet where ultra-processed products are the majority fuel. Reason 8 is convenience itself. America has turned not cooking into a full ecosystem, and the ecosystem shapes what you eat. Food away from home is not just a treat anymore. In 2024, food away from home reached about 58.9% of total food expenditures, the highest share in the USDA data series. When more than half of food spending is happening outside the home, It means more meals are designed by someone else's margins, someone else's kitchen workflow, and someone else's idea of what keeps you coming back. That doesn't automatically mean unhealthy. There are healthy restaurant meals, but it tilts the playing field toward items that are fast, profitable, and popular. In the same August 2021 through August 2023 window, CDC data found that about 1/3 of adults consumed fast food on a given day, and on average, adults got about 11.7% of their daily calories from fast food. That's not rare, that's routine. Fast food, takeout, and ready-to-eat grocery items are built to solve a real problem: time. The health problem shows up when time-saving becomes everyday default, because the easiest defaults tend to be higher in calories, sodium, and added sugar than the patterns most health guidelines recommend. McDonald's is a clean example of what scale does to food. When you serve enormous volume, the menu has to be consistent, fast, and engineered for repeatability. That pushes recipes toward ingredients that behave the same way every time, in every location, with workers who have only minutes to assemble the meal. The goal is not to trick anyone. The goal is to make the product reliable and the line move. Reliability often means refined buns over dense whole grains, sauces that carry sugar and salt for flavor stability, and portion formats that feel like a bargain when you bundle them. None of that proves harm. It shows how convenience and profitability naturally steer the menu toward energy-dense choices unless there is a strong counterpressure from consumer demand or policy. Reason 7 is the simplest and most powerful lever in modern food. Salt, sugar, and fat are cheap, and they are loud. Start with sodium. The CDC says Americans consume more than 3,300 milligrams of sodium per day on average, well above the federal recommendation of less than 2,300 milligrams for teens and adults. Sodium isn't just salt shaker behavior. Most sodium comes built into packaged and restaurant foods, and it's hard to remove at the table because it's already inside the recipe. Now added sugar. The CDC reports that in 2017 through 2018, adults averaged about 17 teaspoons of added sugar per day. The Dietary Guidelines for Americans recommend keeping added sugars to less than 10% of daily calories for people aged 2 and older, which works out to about 12 teaspoons in a 2,000-calorie pattern. So the average is not just a little above. It's meaningfully above a guideline that is already lenient enough to fit real life. And here's the third part: fiber. Many Americans don't get enough. A common estimate is that adult fiber intake averages around 15 grams per day, roughly about half of typical recommendations that land in the mid-20s to around 30 grams depending on calorie needs. This trio matters because high sodium, high added sugar, and low fiber is a signature of many ultra-processed patterns. If you want a quick, am I drifting into the unhealthy convenience lane check, it's often not about one ingredient you can pronounce. It's about those three numbers on your day: sodium, added sugar, and fiber. Coca-Cola is a useful example of how a single product category can change a diet without changing food at all. Sugary drinks don't make you chew. They don't take up much stomach space. They don't signal fullness the way whole foods do for many people. And they can quietly add a lot of added sugar to a day that already has sweetened breads, sauces, and snacks. This is not about one company being evil. It's about how easy it is to drink calories faster than your body can notice, and how that fits perfectly into a convenience lifestyle where you eat on the move. Reason 6 is that unhealthy is not just nutrients. It's eating speed, texture, and the way foods are built to be consumed. One of the strongest pieces of evidence here comes from a controlled inpatient trial run at the National Institutes of Health Clinical Center. Researchers took a small group of adults and fed them 2 different diets, each for 2 weeks, with meals designed to be matched on presented calories and key nutrients like sugar, sodium, and fiber. People could eat as much or as little as they wanted. When participants were on the ultra-processed diet, they ate about 500 calories more per day on average, and they gained weight. When they were on the minimally processed diet, they ate less and lost weight, even though people rated the diet similarly for pleasantness. The striking part is not ultra-processed equals bad, the end. The striking part is how food form changes behavior. Ultra-processed meals were easier to eat quickly. They were often softer, more uniform, more calorie-dense per bite. That means more calories can slide in before fullness catches up. The story most people tell themselves is, "I just lack willpower." This study suggests a different story. Food design changes the speed limit on your appetite. Reason 5 is that the system makes unhealthy choices feel normal through placement, packaging, and what people call health halos. Think about the store path. The loudest products are often the ones with the highest margins. Think about checkout lanes and end caps and snack aisles that appear exactly where you're tired, hungry, and ready to finish. Think about packaging that makes a snack look like a portion, even when the portion is 2 bites. Think about labels that hint at health without delivering it, like a snack marketed around one good ingredient while still being loaded with added sugar or sodium. This is why labeling policy matters. In December of 2024, the Food and Drug Administration finalized an updated definition for when packaged foods can use the voluntary healthy claim, aiming to align it with current nutrition science and dietary guidance. That tells you something important. Even regulators have recognized that the old signals were confusing enough that many people could be misled about what counts as a foundational healthy choice. Better labels help, but labels can't compete with a product that is cheap, loud, and designed to taste good even when you're not hungry. Walmart shows another piece of the puzzle. Logistics is nutrition. When a retailer can move huge volume, it can squeeze costs out of shipping and storage, negotiate prices, and deliver everyday low price across entire categories. That helps families stretch budgets. It also means the products that survive are often the ones that ship well, store well, and sell fast. Fresh foods can do that, but packaged foods often do it better. When the cheapest options in a category are the most shelf-stable and most calorie-dense, the bargain path becomes the ultra-processed path unless shoppers actively steer away from it. That steering takes attention and time, which are exactly the resources convenience culture drains. Reason 4 is the time trap. A lot of nutrition advice is quietly written for people who have time to cook, time to shop, and enough mental space to plan. Many households don't. When you're juggling long work hours, commuting, kids, multiple jobs, or elder care, dinner becomes a problem to solve fast. So the system sells solutions. Those solutions often come in the shape of frozen meals, boxed dinners, drive-through meals, and snack-style eating. Even when a person wants to eat better, the friction is real. Whole foods often require washing, chopping, cooking, and cleaning. Ultra-processed foods often require opening and heating. That difference is not just convenience, it's a difference in daily life. If healthy food is the choice that creates more dishes, it competes against your exhaustion, not against your knowledge. The reason this matters is that health is not a one-time decision. It is a pattern. A pattern collapses when it costs too much time every day. Reason 3 is that convenience changes your default stomach, the baseline that feels like enough. Highly processed foods are often more calorie-dense and less filling per calorie because they're lower in fiber and higher in refined starches and fats. When you eat that way often, normal can drift upward without you noticing. You stop trusting your hunger and fullness because they feel unpredictable. You feel hungry again soon after eating, not because you're broken, but because a low-fiber, highly refined meal can digest fast and leave your gut without the bulk that slows things down. This is one reason fiber matters so much. It's not a trendy nutrient, it's structure. It's the part of plants that adds volume without adding calories, slows digestion, and supports gut bacteria. When average fiber intake is around 15 grams a day, far below typical recommendations, it's no surprise that a lot of people feel like they need bigger portions to feel satisfied. Reason 2 is that America's health problem is not evenly spread. And the cheap, convenient, unhealthy pattern hits harder when you have fewer buffers. The same grocery store aisle can be a different world depending on your budget and your schedule. If you can afford higher quality proteins, fresh produce, and time-saving healthy convenience items like pre-cut vegetables or prepared salads, you can buy your way out of some friction. If you can't, you're pushed toward calorie value. If you live in an area where stores and restaurants skew toward fast food and convenience stores, you're pushed toward default options. And when stress is high, the brain leans harder on fast rewards. That's not a moral failure, that's biology. This is also why broad public health data can feel abstract but is actually personal. For example, the CDC's state-level maps show obesity prevalence is high across all states and regions, with every state at or above 1 in 4 adults in recent mapping. The environment is not a small effect, it's a constant force. DoorDash makes the convenience story even sharper because it turns "I don't feel like cooking" into a 2-minute decision that can arrive at your door. Delivery is not automatically unhealthy, but it amplifies the pattern of outsourcing meals. It also changes your portion math. Restaurant servings can be large, and when they arrive at home, it's easy to eat them like a normal single portion because there's no social pause, no packing a to-go box at the table, no "I'll stop when I'm full" moment. Convenience doesn't just save time. It removes friction that used to limit how often you ate restaurant food. When friction disappears, frequency rises, and frequency is what turns an occasional treat into a health pattern. Reason 1 is the hidden bill. Cheap, convenient food often moves costs from the checkout line to the doctor's office, the pharmacy, your energy, and your ability to move comfortably. This is where the story gets serious, not because anyone should panic, but because the data are blunt. In August of 2021 through August of 2023, the CDC reported adult obesity prevalence around 40.3%. In that same time window, total diabetes prevalence among adults was about 15.8%, including diagnosed and undiagnosed diabetes. The CDC also estimates that obesity accounted for about $173 billion in direct annual medical costs in 2019 dollars. You can argue about causes and responsibilities, and people do, but the direction is clear. A diet environment that makes ultra-processed, high-sodium, high-added sugar, low-fiber patterns normal will produce a lot of chronic disease. And chronic disease is not just a number. It's blood pressure meds, it's sleep apnea machines, it's joint pain, it's fatigue, it's time off work, it's worry, it's the feeling of being trapped in a loop where the foods that feel easiest today make tomorrow harder. Now the part people actually want. What can you do that doesn't require turning your life into a cooking show? Start by keeping the convenience and changing the default. You don't need a perfect diet. You need better autopilot. One practical approach is to pick 2 or 3 emergency meals that are fast but not ultra-processed bombs. Think simple. A bowl built from microwavable brown rice or another whole grain, a can of beans you rinse, a bag of frozen vegetables, and a sauce you measure instead of pour like a waterfall. Or eggs plus frozen vegetables plus whole grain toast, or plain yogurt with fruit and nuts. These are not fancy. They are friction fighters. They compete with takeout on speed while landing closer to a healthier pattern. Second, use the label for the things that quietly break the day. Added sugar and sodium. The goal is not to memorize rules. The goal is to notice when a normal day quietly stacks sweetened drinks, sweetened snacks, sweetened sauces, and sweetened breakfast items until you blow past a reasonable ceiling without realizing it. The dietary guidelines keep added sugar under 10% of calories, and the CDC's own numbers show typical intake can be higher than that. If you cut added sugar a little, it frees calories for real food that carries protein and fiber. Third, treat fiber like your secret weapon. If your day is mostly ultra-processed, fiber is usually the missing structure, and the average intake is far below typical targets. You don't have to chase a perfect number. Just add 1 fiber anchor to each day. Beans, lentils, oats, berries, apples, whole grains, or vegetables you actually like. Fiber makes convenience food less damaging by slowing the day down inside your gut. It helps you feel full on fewer calories, which is a direct counter to the cheap calories trap. Fourth, don't fight cravings with empty willpower. Change the environment. If you buy snacks that make overeating slightly annoying. Put them in a hard-to-reach spot. Buy single portions when you know you'll finish the bag. Pair snacks with something bulky like fruit, yogurt, or nuts so you're not eating air. If your weak spot is late-night grazing, build a default that satisfies without spiraling, like popcorn you portion into a bowl instead of eating from the bag, or a piece of fruit with peanut butter. This is not virtue, it's strategy. Fifth, watch eating speed. The NIH trial suggests part of the ultra-processed effect is how fast people can eat it and how easily calories pile up before fullness catches up. So take a fast food pattern and slow it down. Eat seated. Put the food on a plate. Don't eat while driving. If you're ordering out, split it before you start, not after you're already halfway in. These small moves restore friction that convenience removed. Sixth, be honest about the real opponent, time. If you wait until you're starving, the cheapest and fastest option wins. The easiest win is planning one step earlier than hunger. Keep a few ready-to-go basics at home that make "I have nothing" untrue. Frozen vegetables, canned beans, eggs, oats, a bag of rice, and a couple sauces can turn into meals faster than delivery. That's not about becoming a chef. It's about having an escape route. Let's pull the whole story together. Food in America is cheap compared to income because the system is extremely efficient at producing and distributing calories. Food is convenient because the economy has built a massive ecosystem around not cooking, and food away from home now takes more than half of spending. Food is often unhealthy because the cheapest, most scalable, most convenient calories are typically ultra-processed, and ultra-processed foods make up more than half of calories in national data. The health impact shows up in patterns like high average sodium intake, high added sugar intake, low fiber intake, and high rates of obesity and diabetes. None of this means you're doomed. It means the default settings are tilted, and you can tilt them back with a few smart defaults that keep convenience while improving what you actually eat. If you want one clean takeaway, it's this: keep the convenience, but make your convenience foods more like real meals. Add fiber, watch added sugar, watch sodium. Build 2 emergency meals you can make faster than takeout, and treat friction like a tool, not an enemy. If this helped you see the system more clearly, hit like. Share this with someone who's trying to eat better without spending their whole life in the kitchen. And I want a specific comment from you. What's the one convenient food you rely on the most? And what small upgrade could make it healthier without making it harder?